Hey, would you look at that? Another video from Smash JT criticizing EA. This is getting a little bit old, but at the same time I'd be doing you all a disservice if I didn't bring this information to you as it stands right now. Last we saw with EA, the EVP of Strategic Marketing, Matt Bibby, had said they didn't know why they were the bad guy. And I proceeded to smash an egg on my forehead. Yeah, that's basically what he looked like with that statement. As far as what's going on with EA right now, well, they just had their most recent quarterly earnings call, and in talking to investors, somebody asked the question regarding The Sims and why it's not available on the Nintendo Switch platform. And in the grander scheme, why they don't really put games on the Switch in the first place, no matter what series we're talking about. And Andrew Wilson, the CEO of Electronic Arts, said one of the dumbest things in response to this question, left a lot of people, including myself, scratching their head and trying to figure out why EA has such disdain for the Nintendo platform. Andrew Wilson is an Australian businessman who has been CEO of Electronic Arts since September of 2013. During the most recent earnings call, Jeffrey Cohen asked the question, "Thanks for the incremental color on The Sims. It feels like the franchise would be one that would do well on the Nintendo Switch. So I'm curious how you guys determine which platforms you bring the game to or games to, and is there any reason why you wouldn't want to bring that one on there?" Pretty basic question that a lot of people have been asking over the past few years. Electronic Arts has a fairly paltry offering of games on the Nintendo Switch platform. We're talking one of the largest AAA publishers on the planet, and they've put, what, 4 games on the Nintendo Switch? The most popular console out there right now? It just doesn't make sense why they're not marrying the two. As to a response to the question, Andrew Wilson said, "Anytime we're evaluating platform conversations, we are really looking at a couple of things. One, does the game really fit the profile of the platform in terms of the control or the community ecosystem? 2, do we think the community playing on that platform would appreciate the game to go there? Or would they prefer to play it somewhere else?" This guy, by the way, rakes in millions of dollars a year, and this is how disconnected he is with the casual average gamer if he's saying that they're evaluating these things as opposed to what systems the games are being played on by the majority of gamers right now. We have a lot of data that would suggest a great many Switch owners also own a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One or a PC, and very often choose to play the games that we make on those platforms even though they have a Switch and they enjoy a lot of great content on the Switch. That might be because they have only 4 games offered on the Switch, by the way, but let's continue. And so there's always an evaluation process that goes on a case-by-case basis. And I wouldn't say that The Sims would never go to the Switch, but I think we're doing really well attracting Sims players. As we said, we did the promotion in the last couple of months and brought in 7 million new Sims players that we expect will engage in that community on a platform that is really tailored to user-generated content, creativity, and customization. Because the Nintendo Switch is definitely not tailored toward people who like making their own things. Right. This is Andrew Wilson stating from the CEO's perspective of EA how they evaluate games and determine what platforms they sell them on. The Nintendo Switch is not being utilized by one of the largest AAA game companies out there, and the rationalization for that is, well, most people who own a Switch own one of the other consoles, and they're more likely to buy the game on those other consoles. Now, I will give him this. Maybe games like Madden would make sense, or FIFA, because that's more of the bro gamer crowd, and the typical gamer these days would be purchasing the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 in order to play those specific games. But we gotta talk about games like the Battlefield series, or like they said in the conference call, the Sims series, which if we remember back when Maxis was around, did pretty well on the Super Nintendo with SimCity, and I know a lot of people who play the Nintendo Switch that would absolutely love the Sims game. I mean, just look at how Animal Crossing does on the Nintendo platforms. Sims was like the originator of that style of game, and it's not on the console where Animal Crossing is going to be a banger. This I cannot grasp. There has to be something more going on in the background, like some backroom deal that EA made with Sony and Microsoft just to spite Nintendo, or Sony and Microsoft are giving a larger cut of the game sales to EA and Nintendo takes more of a cut and EA feels like that's not okay, so they're just saying, kicking sand up, we're not gonna be on the Nintendo Switch until you give her a bigger royalty cut to us for a game on the platform. There could be a number of reasons why EA is not putting the games on the Nintendo Switch, but is putting them on these other consoles. But the fact remains, EA is missing out on millions of dollars by not putting these games on the Nintendo Switch. It's not even that big of a risk to do so, and it's not that much harder to put the games on the Switch with scaled down graphics. It's been shown time and time again by numerous other AAA publishers that they're able to do it. Just look at what CD Projekt Red is doing with The Witcher 3 coming to the Nintendo Switch. So proof of concept is right there. It's possible to do, but even games that don't have those graphical demand, like The Sims that should be on a Nintendo platform, aren't, because according to the CEO of EA, he thinks people have a Switch and they also have other consoles and they're probably just going to buy it on the other console. Just speaking from personal experience here, the Switch is my main, and every game that comes out on multiple consoles, I typically buy it for the Switch because of the versatility, the portability, the ability to do a number of things and play the game where I want to and the freedom to take it anywhere I want. The Sony PlayStation 4 and the Microsoft Xbox do not allow that kind of versatility, and because of that, I'm willing to take a little bit of a downgrade on the graphics, maybe even a lower frame rate, a lower resolution, whatever you want to call it, just to be able to have the ability and the freedom to play the game where I want to and when I want to. It makes sense for me personally to play games on the Nintendo Switch. But when the next Need for Speed comes out, if it's not on the Nintendo Switch, I'm probably not going to buy it, but if it were coming to the Switch, I would give it a serious consideration because that's the type of game I would want to play on the go. Andrew Wilson, the CEO of Electronic Arts, I'm not calling for your head that you need to lose your job, but when you say things like this in the position that you're in for as long as you've been the CEO of Electronic Arts, it just kind of leaves me a bit speechless. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, unless, like I said, the aforementioned reasons of something going on behind the scenes that he just didn't want to divulge during the conference call. What he said to the investors doesn't make any sense whatsoever, especially when you consider the paltry attempts at putting games on the Nintendo Switch in the first place. Before the console was even picking up steam and selling like hotcakes, they gave a couple really weak attempts out there, putting games like FIFA and downgraded graphics and roster updates. Didn't really change much at all, and it didn't sell well, and they just gave up? I don't know. It's just something that strikes me as not making much sense in the first place. I can't imagine EA giving up millions of dollars annually just because they don't get along with Nintendo and they don't play nice, so they're just gonna kick sand and not put their games on the platform and say, take that, Nintendo, we're not gonna put our AAA titles on your console because we don't get along with you for whatever reason. Doesn't make any business sense whatsoever. But if there's not a reason in the background and there's nothing hidden and that was the truth, if Andrew Wilson truly was telling the investors that's the reason they don't put games on the Nintendo Switch, then it might be time to retire, because he is way out of his league in the position of CEO of one of the most powerful AAA game companies in the world, and then saying that's why they don't put games on the Nintendo Switch. Anyways, that's where we stand with EA and the CEO talking about why games aren't coming to the Switch. We have our answer. I know a lot of people are not going to like it, and makes us scratch our heads even more so as to how this guy is running a multi-billion-dollar video game company, and that's the answer he gives as to why a game isn't coming to the most popular platform out right now. That's where we stand. I'm very interested to hear what you guys have to say about these Electronic Arts games not being put on the Nintendo Switch, if you care about it, or if you maybe agree with Andrew that I do buy these games on these other consoles. I don't buy them on the Switch, and what he's saying makes sense. I mean, maybe there's a few people out there, but I have a feeling the vast majority of us would want the option to be able to buy the game on what console we prefer. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.